Hi, this is Dickinson coming to you today from Startup Village in the middle of COP28 in Dubai. And a lot of people sort of ask the question around what startups and entrepreneurship have to do with the whole question of environmentalism. The answer to that lies more deeply in some classical economic theories invented by a guy named Joseph Schumpeter back in 1942. So Schumpeter wrote a book called Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy, back in the days when you could write a book that was literally about everything. And in that book, he coined the phrase creative destruction. This is the idea that in any local economy, things are constantly being created and destroyed at the same time. Sometimes we refer to this as economic churn, the idea that in your community there might be businesses failing at the same time that new businesses are launching. And Schumpeter's idea was this notion that startups and entrepreneurship really drove a way of reinventing the economy. That if we wanted things to behave differently, we had to rely on creative destruction as the force to do this. That's core to the idea of green entrepreneurship. If we think about ways of identifying entrepreneurial opportunities in the environmental space, we can think about the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, for example. Goal number 6 talks about clean water and sanitation. Goal number 7 talks about affordable and clean energy. Well, how are we going to achieve those? Well, sometimes there's things that governments or NGOs that can do in that space, but often we're going to rely on new technologies, new inventions, new ideas, new innovations to help us achieve real change in those spaces. And how are we going to get those innovations out to the world? Well, often we're going to have to rely on entrepreneurship. And so the notion that green entrepreneurs are developing these new tools and new ideas is one of the ways that we can kind of reinvent the economy. Because really what we're talking about in the environmental space is this notion that we want to destroy part of how the old economy worked and create a new way of doing business. And Schumpeter, going back almost a century now, has kind of given us the economic tools to understand how that works. The process of creative destruction that says we're going to invent something new so that we can do away with the old ways of doing things, that we can kind of recreate the aspects of what it is that we need to do in this economy to make the transformations that we often talk about. And so green entrepreneurs, green startups become one of the key tools that we have available to us to drive that transformation. Here we have a company called Concrete, for example, which has found a way to develop a coating and an additive to concrete that eliminates the compounds and chemicals that would otherwise leach out into marine environments for underwater applications. And this helps with things like biodiversity preservation, elimination of invasive species, habitat restoration, including in reefs. And that's one example of the kinds of things that green entrepreneurs can be bringing to the table to destroy the old ways of doing business while creating new ones, capturing that notion of Schumpeter's creative destruction.